Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about, uh, again, a different way of looking at things. And this is the difference when we are training specifically, oftentimes for performance, and then we're chasing hypertrophy for the goal of getting stronger. The reality is, when you do this correctly, you end up getting potentially very, very jacked. And in this case, I'm going to discuss the bench because you guys see me doing the bench there. If you look at the workloads, even though I'm a power lifter, look at what you're seeing here. Keeping in mind I'm 46 when I'm making this. All right, look at the range of motion on that bench, pausing, got the wrist stack, so there's a lot of stretch at the bottom. I just did 8 reps there with 315. Okay. Think about that from a hypertrophic perspective. All right, all the muscles involved. And considering that the bench press itself is an enormous mass builder. You'll get people who will argue against that specifically in certain physique circles, and that's fine. They're entitled to that perspective. But the best experts, the research, everything else shows the bench press is capable of putting very large amounts of muscle on your upper body. It's also kind of a big deal, a big test of upper body strength. And the reason for that is because so many muscles are involved, specifically in the upper body. And again, people will make arguments at things like the overhead press being a better test of upper body strength, but it's just simply not. There's less muscles involved in actually moving the weight. It really isn't. And that's not even a knock at the exercise. It's just being objective. But, you think about that with the benching. But when you start chasing performance on the bench and you're not, say, really genetically gifted at the bench, I'm not. People are like, oh, you're 46, you just cranked out eight pause reps of 315, you're not doing too bad. Yeah, but I suck at the bench genetically. I've had to put in enormous amounts of work to get there. But here's the thing. In doing that, I'm always chasing weak links, right? Always chasing weak links. And if we're always chasing weak links, that means we're always going to be growing in our weakest places. And I think one of the things that people forget, setting aside even modern bodybuilding, what did lots of the guys do way back in those classic eras when people had those physiques? Well, a lot of them cared a lot about their bench press. And the bench press was still kind of the upper body lift, right? God, it was kind of a big deal even during that golden era for that. These guys chased a big bench. A lot of them had big benches. They cared about it. It's part of what gave that look. Part of what gave that look for that era. Right? They did a lot of bench pressing. When you start looking at these different things, what do you guys see me doing chasing a bigger bench? I'm doing all that pause benching, so my chest and stuff is handled, but then my triceps tend to be weak. So if my triceps are weak, you see me doing all that tricep work. See where I'm about to go for this? Right? Well, in my case, look at the way that I'm built. My torso tends to grow faster than my arms. So in that case, to keep the bench caught up, what do I have to do? I have to do more arm work. What does that do from a size perspective? It ends up balancing me out. Balances things out a little bit. All right. I do all those rows. Why am I doing all those dumbbell rows? Well, I need the grip work for one, but two, upper back. All right, my whole upper back, if it starts lagging behind, I can't control the eccentric on a heavy bench the way that I need to touch where I need to touch to get the best lift. So I have to do all that back work. What's the end result? I end up getting thicker, fixing a weak link. Fixing a weak link. Right? What do those cheat curls do for some of that? They work the upper back also. Right? I'm doing those cheat curls, not cheat curls, really they're power curls for the deadlift benefits, but also the same thing. A lot of times my biceps feel like they can't stabilize the heavy bench correctly. So what happens? Well, I need that extra bicep work to stabilize the bench better. Give me more squish out of the bottom. See me doing this band work. Why? To keep my elbows healthy from all the tricep exercises. Also helps with the work capacity on the bench lockout on those heavier high rep sets. Right? As we go down the road fixing all these weak links, what happens? We're getting bigger and thicker, and we're addressing weak points. Well, if we're doing that all the time and we're chasing performance, we're focusing on all these weak points, fixing them, building those weak links, even doing all this hypertrophy work to build up wherever we're weakest on the bench. What happens? We end up being really jacked. All in the name of chasing that bench press. Okay? See this over and over. Then you see this with powerlifters. A lot of times you'll see powerlifters who are big, strong guys with big benches. And then people say, well, they don't look that way till they diet down. Okay. I remember years ago when Dave Tate did that. People pull that, and then the guy diets down and gets really lean, and he looks like a bodybuilder. He looks like a competitive bodybuilder, ready to step on stage once he cut down. All from all that work trying to build all the important muscles to his bench press. So where am I going with this? I'm going with this idea of what I tell people: if you just focus on getting really, really, really strong on your basic lifts, and that doesn't mean you just do the basic lifts. I want to be very clear here. The basic lifts will find weak links in your musculature. They'll find weak links in your musculature that you're not always seeing in the mirror. Same thing, see all that hamstring I have. If you're not looking in the mirror or a camera, you don't realize if your hamstrings are big or thick or not. Now bodybuilding world, they're going to notice. You're in short shorts at the beach, they're going to notice. You won't notice it, but it'll stand out in your performance. So it's the same thing. If you're chasing bigger numbers on these lifts and some of those muscles are not up to speed, what happens? The lifts suffer. You'll see it in the movement patterns. So the same thing. If you're always chasing the performance, you'll build the muscle. And to some extent, you'll even build the look. Now, might you have to diet down later? If you want to look a certain way with that, sure, you might have to drop some body fat down. But when you're chasing brute strength like this and chasing performance, you're still going to look impressive. And this is with my guys. What happens with my girls? You guys have seen a lot of my lady lifters. A lot of them have these ideal bodies, and a lot of women are like, wow, she looks great. And they realize that we don't even train for looks. We literally just train them to get stronger. And then they eat a good diet. Do some conditioning work. Problem solved. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.